for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved, divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. I was going through the forest, getting lost again, getting found, and I found this beautiful baby feather. It was brand new, so it looked like it was waiting for me, and it was this perfect spot that it was searching for to record, and I guess I found it. So I'm going to anchor it here as I will speak to all of you. And I want to talk about what the message was from my divine parents, Aurea and Aurea, and I want to give you the message of the sacredness of the Elohim journey in terms of divine union and Illumined Ascension, because you know this was my journey for such a long time, and this was not just the title of my webpage or my work, or you know, this is something that I was undergoing. And today I've received this impulse after quite an empty or void-like time in my life, which lasted about, I don't know, let's say a few weeks, even months. And it was almost like this feeling I was going through of things ending. You know, there was these weird feelings of endings and feeling, you know, this space of void that I've never felt in such a way before. It was long-standing in comparison to my journey before, where the outside triggers have continuously been pushing me in a way to rapidly accelerate this journey of Illumined Union that I was on. And so today, finally, I received this, I created this breakthrough for myself, and I could feel them, you know, Aurea and Aurea, because I can feel them more and more, finally, you know, as my home has been anchored, and as I've shared in the previous video with all of you, what this overall grandiose picture of life, this greater vision of life through the Elohim vision of life is all about, and how I personally experience it, and what is my gift to this world, to this realm, through their gift of their union. So today I was actually getting a message what the space of the void is all about. We've actually communed with beloved Jesus the Christ, and he gave a little bit of the insight, but it was only complete through my own divine parents, Aurea and Aurea. So he basically told us that what I'm currently experiencing is not a state of incompletion or a feeling of something being lost and not found, or incomplete or not yet integrated. He said, I've achieved this sense of union from within a while ago, but the feeling that's now coming forth into the forefront of my experience is a feeling of feeling in a way empty. But this emptiness does not come from a space of unfulfillment. So he explained it as, my life so far has been about channeling divine grace and channeling this Illumined Union to this realm of existence, and through which I was paving the way for Illumined Ascension. I'll explain why Illumined Ascension is different than just progression through different levels of densities as the illusionary journey of soul. So if you look at it from a greater perspective, it's like everything you do fills your inner cup, right? But my experience was different. It varied in a way that I used to be constantly this empty vessel. So I was receiving from spirit and I was pouring it out, and I was channeling divine grace, pouring it out. And this feeling of being always emptied out, because I was always giving everything that I received, created a new opening, and I could receive more and more and more. And this was a constant feeling. This is how I grew. But what I was shown is that this vessel, right, although be it empty, each time that I channeled this divine grace forth and I received and then poured forth into this realm a new level of what this divine guidance through spirit of the Elohim, the spirit of life, brought forth, is it kept filling my cup more and more, from the extension of the light quotient being, you know, anchored within my body, my physical body template, which was getting more and more gradually illuminated. So up until this recent point, which I've talked about in the previous video, there was this sense of being externally triggered and pushed, because this dynamic created a dynamic flow of what the outside triggers needed to bring me so I could activate this, so I could integrate it in my physical human life, and I could become more of life, and I could expand into life. And each time there was a transmission and then, you know, deliverance of that. And it was a constant receiving and giving, like instantaneously, which left me very much fulfilled. Because of that, I did not need or had specific requirements that most souls have in this realm, and people longing for different variations of earthly experiences and partnerships, or maybe even changing different levels of partnerships and changing people in their lives and growing through different triggers. My triggers came more as an instantaneous experience, and then I took from that experience its essence, but I always needed to implement it from within. This was my way of growth. But what then came later, right? As Jesus the Christ explained, he said, now where I am, I'm no longer working. This is no longer my work, because this mission, this way of life transmission was completed through me. And the only thing left to do was for me to, you know, complete this transgression cycle and bring it into unification process. He said, because of that, I no longer feel this sense of, you know, receiving all the time. He said, now I'm a full cup. But this fullness, right, the way the mind interprets it, it feels empty, because it's no longer constant receiving and then giving, receiving and giving. The cup doesn't, you know, empty itself out instantaneously and then receive. This is how I always was. You know, I experienced these waves of complete void, complete emptiness. And then right about the point where I thought, well, this is it, nothing new. And then something came again. And it was these levels of progression of how deep I went into spirit and all that the Spirit of Light had to share with me, until this point where I really met home, where I started anchoring my own home, and this was the filling of my own cup. So I was explained by the Spirit of Life today that each time, right, the sequencing of this receiving and then instantaneous pouring out into this realm, the cup was enlarging. It was getting larger and larger, until I came to this point where outside triggers were no longer necessary, which meant that I simply entered a new cycle of life. And what I was shown is that this cup now, the way it stands still, full of itself, like the fullness of this love essence that I am, as the outpouring of Aureas and Aureans union, I'm just standing still. And it's almost like, you know, I once read in this book that if you want to be in this realm and you can't achieve, let's say, 5.0 density, and for you to still remain physical here, you will have to continue with the 4.9 frequency until, you know, you get over the threshold. You can no longer be physical. It's simply the laws of the universe, the laws of this life that many people don't understand, and they perceive, as I've explained before, longevity and things like transcending the body in a different way, that they're actually truly created through the principles of life. You have to really understand the principle of life to know what the progression of life is through different levels of realms and densities. But what I was explained today, and this is when now divine parents coming through, and they were inspiring me, and I already did this drawing that I do on Patreon each time we do this channeled spirit drawing. And in this drawing was a complete understanding and the interpretation of what they wanted to achieve through me. And they simply told me in a very benevolent way, because sometimes as humans we misunderstand that and we feel kind of used or abused. And this was kind of like my pattern of the wound for a long time now, until recently, when I really let go and understood the beauty of this process, because it truly is so beautiful. So I was shown how I was simply a prototype for this way of life. And let me now explain further, you know, because when you use words like prototype, it sounds kind of mechanical, right? Prototype means that this is something that wasn't experienced on Earth before. You know, the way the original evolution of souls was designed, it was always designed with the seed of life. But as you know, there are many levels of evolution, and how it was also hijacked by levels of dark transgression, and how souls could no longer remember their home. And the home at the creation level, you know, although we all know it as source, still for us, when source started creating, there were these divine counterparts, like these spirit forces of life that I call Elohim creation angels, that began creating their own offspring and their own counterparts, their own groupings, right? And within each of these groupings, there was amazing love and tremendous familiarity and kinship and brotherhood and sisterhood. It just growing through love. And then, you know, as I've explained in the previous video, there was also separation, because different aspects, these counterparts, needed to experience different things in order for there to be new level of evolution that was set into motion. At the start of that journeying, which was once the offspring of that Elohim essence. But because of this evolutionary cycle that was very dark, most souls lost the connection with the design of life, which is the Elohim design of life. In many of my courses and Patreon content, and that which was a deeper guidance that I received, that I didn't just share it here with you publicly because it would be misunderstood, because as you know, not all who follow truly follow through and embody and do the work. They're not at that level yet. So I don't share everything here, and even the spirit guidance that was channeled through my automatic writing today, I will only read on Patreon on my page there called Illumined Ascension. So most of these souls lost the connection with the home, which is the Elohim. It's the principle, it's the design of life. And this Elohim was also in the New Age interpreted very much, you know, by these creator beings who are very powerful, and it was always this instant of stressing the word power. And yet, you know, this is the power of love, truly. That's how I feel Aurea and Aurea is these Elohim counterparts who've given birth to me and my essence. In the Cosmic Christ channel material that will come out one day, I've actually been channeling this division of the Elohims, and how for each new creation cycle, they kind of divide themselves again. So they go into a state of union, create new offspring of themselves that were not yet going through these current evolutionary cycles. And this is how I, as a human counterpart, came into being. This is how I was created, and this is what I was shown. Because I have this newness and novelty within me, I did not have the imprint that most souls who went through these incarnational cycles went through. So for me, coming to this point in life, ready for ascension in Illumined Union at the age of what, almost 38 now, right? Most souls, most beings, most people, souls through their people, right? Their personality aspects don't come into that union. Lifetimes and lifetimes, and it's just been spinning and spinning around. So because they wanted to weave a new creation cycle into being, that's how I was created, and that's how I was designed. So me as a prototype meant that I was able to experience this in this lifetime through direct channeling of their love and knowing this true love of the Elohim, knowing the principle and the design of life that is immaculate, and also understanding how the predecessors of these journeys brought forth what was needed at each creation cycle for the human realm, which meant, you know, these three creation portals we know as the Buddhi, or the Illumined Mind, the Christos, the Christ principle, the Illumined Heart, and now the last level is this feminine principle of life, feminine polarity, which is the Elohim, the El, the life-giving. And this is why I'm always explaining that creation angels have a feminine prototype, or the feminine design, right? Even when I talk about Lucifer Ra, it is a feminine being, a feminine creation angel essence, because the feminine essence gives birth to life. The Buddhi Illumined Mind is more divine masculine principle. The Christos, the Christ, is both. It is the merging, right? And so each cycle of this mastery, right, we know as was brought forth into the earth experience, anchored that level of union within the human realm. So this trinity, this triad wasn't yet complete. So in this realm, it had to be the feminine. So this feminine being, also through gender polarity expression, was me. And this meant that in this cycle, right, this divine trinity, as I'll explain one day in the Cosmic Christ material, that at the star pillar level is expressed, you know, through that triangle, which I mentioned in the previous video that I won't go into now. I'll explain it in the Cosmic Christ transmission. But on earth, this trinity is simply through our human bodies expressed as the Buddhi, the Christos, and the Elohim principle, right? These three principles, only when they're all commingle, when they're all merged, when there is identity not within one or the other, and especially this dualistic framework that most souls in their human counterparts through their personalities still live and experience, but this ultimate divine trinity of life expressed in one human body design. This is what Illumined Ascension means. So through this channeled writing today, I was shown and I was explained how the ascension that I'm talking about, this organic Illumined Ascension, is not just a progression from one state of density that the soul can experience. You know, when most people talk about ascension from 3D to 5D, this is not what Illumined Ascension is. Illumined Ascension is all these aspects of us at the essence level absorbed within the human experience, and also the human experience absorbed within all these higher aspects. It is a complete union of pure benevolence. So you become your divine parents and they become you. So they bring this into creation and then they take it back. And this is the only reason that once you complete this and you exist in this Illumined union, and when the cup is full, the cup then at that particular point in time in sacredness of creation and how life is designed here can only spill over. And that spilling over means the form will become something else. The form will be illuminated. First, the inner human child counterpart is illuminated, and then the form will also become something else. The reason why most people don't understand what I'm talking about is because this has not happened before at the human level. They said the prototype first needs to come into motion, and this is what Elohim beings do. They create new divisions of themselves. They would split, not split, but they would create these new aspects, right? These almost like when we understand the nature of fractals, a fractal reality. And these aspects, they say, go forth and bring our love and union and understanding in here, and then we're going to take it back. And through that taking back, that realm can become something new. And this is why the dark has been working so hard, not just in general, but in my life and through my life specifically, to prevent this, because this is huge. Because only through embodying all these three levels and being fully anchored and rooted in the Elohim principle of life and life-giving, the change is tremendous. This change at the ultimate level of union, when you look at it universally, for all these soul counterparts that have been a part of the Illumined Union design and experiment of life, they all would feel it and experience it. This doesn't mean that when I do this, and being the first, that then souls would follow right after. But every single soul that was a part of this, that either watched my journey, that somehow learned through it, that absorbed this wisdom, that somehow took that as an opportunity of creation, took that as something sacred, took that as new potency, because this is what happens. There's a new potency created that's very mysterious, very mystical in nature. You can't logically explain it. It just is. And the way it was growing is through deep inner feeling. I felt things, and when I felt them, then only when I processed them through my feelings at the human counterpart, I received the guidance. I received a full comprehension and a synthesis of that understanding, as first I internalized it within myself. So, right, the inner child ready to receive the parenthood and that wisdom, and they then receive. And they also have to take into account what the child wants. So up until this point, a lot of things were known, and the way growth was designed was, the way it was very structured. But what the words that came through me yesterday were, the configuration for the new is not yet complete. So it's still in motion, it's still in processing, but it already began. And this is probably at the point in time when I started feeling that, I would leave the realm in which I knew to be this way, and growing through this way of experiencing and being human in this specific way, because things really, they felt no longer as full of potential as they were before, because the cup was already fulfilled. Everything, every single potential was exhausted until that familiarity became something that could offer a new experience. This is how, when you don't understand how Elohim beings are and the way they function, you can't have that. And even I, as their human offspring, their human counterpart, their human love child, I'm going to get bits and pieces, and then I'm going to try to feel into them, and I'm going to feel what they desire. I'm going to feel their love for realm and creation and growth, and through that love, I'm going to allow that to come through them. It's going to come through me. That's the way life was for me all this time along. But it's also the reason why I know that this experience of my human life will turn into something else. And because it's a mystical experience, and as I'm going through it each step of the way, I can only share when I'm passed through each threshold, when I'm, at the other side of something new, and what I receive, bits and pieces, and the way souls will absorb that and grow, each individually. Each soul will take something that's precious, that's a precious jewel gem for them. And one day when they're ready, because at the soul level they all witness this, they're going to embed this in their own Illumined Union journey, and these souls will start their own Illumined Union journey process. But I'm not being shown that specifically at this point in time, souls would start following like right along. Many souls would, of course, still continue the ascension through the evolutionary journey through densities, and they will no longer take up density form in 3D, right, and even 4D. They would go beyond, but they would take a little bit of that which I came and brought here as a prototype, but one day they would also enter this full synthesis journey of what Illumined Union and Ascension is, which is much greater and bigger. It's all these ascensions as one, and this all already is and was channeled in 2019 through the Cosmic Christ course material. And I'll talk about it when my process is complete, and the only thing left for me to do in this realm is disseminate that, and then just allow spirit to come and create something new of me. And a lot of people who don't understand this, because they're not one with these creation laws, they don't know what Elohim is. They don't understand the union and how it functions in this beautiful divine design of life. They look ascension as a vertical process, and as in, you know, like just going up the ladder of spirit. They're seeing it like going up, up, up. They still have a limitation here, and they're still programmable in a way. There's still inception about ascension that's very mechanical, and it's not born of birth out of divine union and love and understanding. And I was blessed because I came into this world already seated with this love, and it was natural for me to understand each time a little more. And that's how my understanding grew. But at a specific point, I just no longer wanted this experience the way I had it before, which is natural. You know, the child feels they've done the work. The human feels they were the vessel for this work, and now they're simply here ready to become something else, something new. So I will read the entire channeling in the Patreon content page that I still have for now. Also, the drawing was a beautiful, beautiful drawing, just showing how all these experiences became this something crystalline, and they brought forth a synthesis, unification process. And when one can do it, they're going to plant the seed. You know, when Jesus the Christ, when he went through his own mission purpose, he's seated within the one, but he's seated within the whole just as well. And it's the same thing I'm doing, but it's a different level. It's how divine Illumined Union at the collective level of all soul being, as one being, is progressing and continuing the cycle and the flow of life. So I want to thank you for listening, because these things they can't be understood logically. You know, I feel them, I go through them, I'm being shown, and that's how I can process them also at the human level, very organically, because I'm the one who receives this directly. But I know that sometimes it's difficult because each soul is where they are and in their own process, so they're more of an observer, they're more like an outside observer, but still I'm receiving this impulse to tell you, don't just throw it away because it's unfamiliar to you, because it sounds new or hokey pokey. You know, just allow yourself to receive, you know, this simple understanding that this is potential for you as well, that is eventually potential for everyone to experience somewhere along the journey of their own Illumined Union. And just, you know, be where you are, be with the process where you are, and see the bigger process, how each soul will take something of it that will be precious for them and will help them. And this is how life grows. So thank you again. Me and this beautiful feather are saying goodbye for now. And I wish to tell you to just not always be so serious. You know, I'm looking a lot back to my life, how it was, you know, in remembrance. And there's a lot of things I would say to my, I don't know, teenager self, my young adult self. I was too serious and so driven. I would just say to myself, just go easy on yourself. You can enjoy much more than, you know, stumbling all the time and thinking you have to be serious all the time. You know, be diligent, be within wisdom, but don't be so serious and rigid within that serious nature, because, you know, people still deflect a lot when they're too rigid and they have so much defense and walls built around them. Just allow yourself to receive this. Allow yourself to receive this love. Even if there's nothing else coming through today for you in this video, but just receiving the love. Just feel the state of grace that's flowing through. I know that at the soul level, something precious was exchanged. And you don't have to mentally understand it. And you don't mentally have to understand me and my journey. But you have to trust yourself that everyone knows exactly where they are. And I do. And I fully know. And I've been seeing this as a layout of everything coming back into one piece of the puzzle that once was many pieces. It's being summoned up, and this is where I am now. So thank you again, as always, with so much love, wisdom, and power. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you.
Magical.